Welcome to the Focus and Chill podcast, where we discuss productivity tactics that work for neurodiverse individuals.
Every episode, we interview guests with lived experience of neurodiversity who also have a solid productivity and habit game, and pass the learnings on to you, our wise and benevolent audience.
We're your hosts, Jeremy and Joey.
I'm Joey, and I coach creatives to get moving on their most ambitious projects through the power of solid habits and strong focus. I'm also a perpetual student of psychology and perpetually on a quest to a one-armed chin-up.
And I'm Jeremy, a neurospicy software developer turned startup founder, building the Focus Bear app to help people with ADHD and autism thrive at work. My cool party trick is leaving parties early so I can get to sleep in time for my 2-hour-long morning routine. The Focus and Chill podcast is brought to you by Focus Bear, a habit and productivity app that makes healthy habits and deep work the path of least resistance. If you have a tendency to check emails or scroll through Instagram first thing in the morning, but long to develop a meditation and exercise habit first thing, Focus Bear can help you. The app blocks distractions on all your devices and guides you through your habits one at a time. Throughout the day, Focus Bear assists you to stay in deep work by blocking websites and apps that are unrelated to your chosen focus mode. Life's not all about work though. You'll be prompted to take regular breaks to rest your eyes and stretch your muscles. At the end of the day, Focus Bear helps you switch off. Work-related apps get hidden so you can unwind and sleep well. Check out the app by going to focusbear.io. Welcome to episode number 40 of the Focus and Chill podcast. Our guest today is Dan Macqueen. On June 21st of 2014, Dan's reality was shattered by a devastating brain hemorrhage. With no map to guide him on the gruelling path to recovery, Dan had to rely on his grit, perseverance, and resilience to relearn everything he once knew, how to walk, talk, and even smile. Dan has survived 2 emergency brain surgeries, weeks in a coma, and months in a rehab hospital. What he found out along the way might surprise you. There's nothing like a brain injury to refocus the mind. Driven by a positive mindset, Dan battled through excruciating rehab exercises to rebuild his life and return to a job he loved. Welcome to the show, Dan.
Hey, Jeremy, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'd like to begin with talking about what happened in 2014. Can you tell us, was there any warning or did it happen completely out of the blue?
Yeah, so this came out of the blue. I was living in London, England, jolly old after a master's in Sweden. So I was in their life, living my best life, big nights out, cafes, restaurants, enjoying the vibrancy of London, which I'm sure you know you're aware of. Started having these headaches that were getting horrible and persistent over a few weeks. Taking painkillers like candy, the headaches would not stop. They were relentless headaches. I went to A&E, which is accident and emergency in the UK. They thought it was vertigo and they sent me home. I went to pick up a microwave for my friend in Notting Hill, and on the tube, my vision blacked out for 3 minutes. Like blacked out. I couldn't see anything. I went on the platform, I waited there. The vision came back, thankfully. I knew something was horribly wrong here. This is not normal behavior. Went back to A&E. They thought it was vertigo again. On the way out, they told me if the headaches were to continue, I could always get my eyes checked at an optometrist. An optometrist, you say, eh? So the next day, I found myself in Mr. Patel's chair, getting an eye exam because the headaches were persistent and worse than all hell. Midway through the exam, he stops the exam. Cold turkey, and he goes, I'll be back in a few minutes. He comes back with a sealed envelope, Jeremy, and he passes it to me. And he goes, I need you to go directly to Moorfields Hospital, which I did. Well, tell a lie. I stopped at home first to grab a Jack Reacher book by Lee Childs. I figured I'd be in for a bit of wait. Want something to read. Grabbed a bite to eat and I grabbed a phone charger. Then I made my way to Moorfields Hospital. There they ran the same test and escalated me up to Charing Cross Hospital. It was escalating quickly. It turns out I had a dangerous buildup of pressure in my brain caused from a non-cancerous cyst in my head. It turns out I required emergency brain surgery tomorrow. It turns out my world's about to change altogether. After a frantic back and forth with folks in Canada, I wrote the final text message to my mom and said, you know what? I think I'll have a new haircut next time I see you, love, Dan. So mom is in the air flying to London on June 21st, 2014. I'm on the operating table. Something goes horribly wrong. And I had a massive bleed in the brain, a brain hemorrhage. Then the cyst burst when they operated. My mom lands and finds I'm in critical condition. I was in a coma for 4 weeks, but was in and out of consciousness for months after this. Things were dicey, touch and go. When all was said and done, I was learning how to walk, talk, and smile again. That's kind of where things kicked off for me there.
Sounds so difficult and really unfortunate that they didn't pick it up the first time that you went in. So what was it like going through rehab?
Well, waking up in the hospital, having my mom, dad, and brother on the bed. I'm trying to talk, but I can't talk because I had a tracheotomy removed and my voice box didn't come back for a few weeks. I'm pointing at my brother, I go, you, give me a pen and paper, please. And I write down the pen and paper, get me out of here. And I show it to him. So like, you have to make this happen. Get me out of here, in my broken sign language. And he didn't, because I was pretty crunked. I couldn't, my left leg had frozen at an angle, so my left leg was atrophied. I couldn't walk. I couldn't talk. I was crunked. I was thinking, this looks expensive. Let's get the hell out of here. I was worried that this may not be covered by medical coverage. I was a Canadian living in London. Luckily, my European passport covered that, so I was quite healthy with that, which was good. But it was, look, man, it was a dogfight. Like, straight up, it was arduous, difficult, strenuous. And to get in the wheelchair took me 45 minutes, then 40 minutes, then 35, then 30, then 25, then 20. Everything was just aching and painful and difficult to move. My leg had frozen at an angle in the ICU, so I couldn't use it. I had to wear a splint to help get the movement back in my left leg, which was horrifically painful. I'll share the story with you and your listeners, if you don't mind, about learning to walk in Tune Broadway, or wearing the splint in Tune Broadway. So the first night I wore the splint through the night, no issue, no stress. This will be easy. I thought this will be easy. I thought, right? The second night, after 20 minutes, it was painful. After 30 minutes, it was dreadful. After 40 minutes, it was unbearable. I took the splint off, but I told the nurses, tomorrow we're doing this for an hour. I'm a walker. I can handle the pain. Let's do this for an hour tomorrow, 100%. Third day, they wrapped my leg. They gave me the clicker, the nurse call button. We set the timer on my phone for 1 hour. 1 hour. And they go for patrol of the Wilson ward. Now, the Wilson ward was an L shape, so short on this side, longer on this side, okay? Short on this side, longer on this side. And they leave me in the hospital room that smells like only a hospital room can smell. It's sanitized, it's sterilized, it's clean, but you're wondering what sort of atrocities have been covered up under the guise of this pine sol lemon zest they've got here. And after 10 minutes, the leg starts hurting. It's a rolling thunder kind of vibe. After 20 minutes, the legs really getting painful. After 30 minutes, the leg is unbearable. I start passing the clicker back and forth, trying to distract myself from the pain. Now, I've got double vision from the brain injury, which means I see two of you now, which is really awesome. Fantastic. It means I can't see much of this clicker going back and forth. As the pain ratchets up, my throws get more enthusiastic. Until eventually, inevitably, I drop the clicker and it lands on the hard linoleum floor. 3.5 feet down on the ground. Damn it. I look over the edge of the bed, I see the clicker there lying on the floor, looking back at me. If I can only get to that clicker, I can stop this pain, I can stop this insanity. Only problem was a fall from that height might break my arm, I thought. In fact, I figured about a 50-50 chance of breaking my arm. A coin flip. Not the best odds. I changed tack. I'm pawing at the splint to undo it, but it's up at the ankle, not at the hip. I can't reach that far. I'm not that flexible. I'm like lunging for the splint, but I can't undo it. It's too far away from me. Start yelling out for help from the hospital. I'm going, help, help. The ward was an L shape, right? Short on this side, long on this side. Short on this side, long on this side. They're at the far end of the ward. They can't hear me yelling for help. I decide no one's coming to save you right now. You got 30 minutes left on this timer. So best case scenario, they come back in an hour or in 30 minutes. I can't last for another second with a splint on my leg. I decide I'm going to drop down to grab the clicker. I lower myself off the edge of the bed and I crash down in a heap. It's yard tail, blankets, wires, cables, it's all to go. The arm holds. And I hammer the clicker, expecting the nurses to come bursting into the room to come to rescue. I kind of strolled in 5 minutes later. What are you doing to throw it off? That's exactly how they sound in my memory. And I tell them, let's not worry about that. Let's get the splint off my leg, please, and I'll tell you all about that. It's not what happens to you, but how you respond to the matters, right? I learned 3 lessons from the story. That's why I'm telling you this now. The first is let's not pass the clicker back and forth. That's a pretty self-evident lesson from this experience. The second was let's do a splint up at the hip, not at the ankle. That way I can undo this shit that's happened going forwards. And the third and probably most profound lesson I learned was let's always be solutions oriented in the space going forwards. Focus on how you can fix your problem, not what your problem is. Always focus on what your problem is, not how you got there. How can you fix it? Right now, that splint or that clicker is the only thing that I care about, that worry about. Let's get the clicker. Let's get the clicker. So it was a pretty profound lesson for me. I never made that mistake again. I'll tell you that much. But just to give you an idea of how painful this was to like rehab and build back from this. And that was at the Wolfson Rehab Center. So I'd already done 3 months of rehab at Charing Cross Hospital first. But it was difficult, arduous, grindy, monotonous work that I was putting in every day to like build back to this and make it happen. It was frustrating as all hell, but it was a time.
Yeah, that sounds like incredibly unpleasant and really, really demanding having to deal with that pain. Because I imagine each day, maybe it got slightly better, but it would have still been really uncomfortable.
You just kind of learn to like place the pain in a way where you can handle it and adjust to it, and like realize like you got to kind of deal with this adversity to make it to walking. Like an hour a night's not a huge number, right? And you think like, oh, that's fine, that's easy, but like the pain ratchets up so hard, so fast. I can't tell you how painful this was. I never whinged about anything in the hospital. I was never like, oh, this sucks, this is unfair, why am I doing this? But the splint, I was like, this thing sucks. Let me tell you how much this thing is a pain in the ass. It was horrifically painful, and it took me a lot of times to get the dial right and the timing right and make it work and slowly stretch it out so I could start walking on it, right? It was difficult, and trial and error is how I got there. And that's ultimately what the process was for me.
And what happened after that, after the months in rehab?
So after about 6 months from the first brain injury, I was released from Wilson and I did rehab at home. So I did like occupational therapy, vocational therapy, speech and language therapy, physiotherapy. I was doing this all like remotely at the house, like build back up to get back to work. Eventually I got back to work for 2 half days a week. I wasn't doing much, checking some emails, socializing, going for lunch, just getting back in the swing of a routine at Hootsuite in London. With this lovely office in Oxford Street. And, I was making slow progress, slow gains. I was, 2 half days a week, nothing much. Moved up to 3 half days a week. And then eventually, I'd meet my mom at the 2 before I went to work in the morning. Just check to make sure I'm off okay and there's no issues. And then one day I didn't show up. And she goes, that's kind of weird. She called me, I didn't answer my phone. She made me bring me back to my flat in Hammersmith. And she opens the door to find me lying on the floor unconscious. The shunt that's in my head had blocked, leading to hydrocephalus or water on the brain. So it's pretty serious business. I was rushed to the hospital after 999 came in and rescued my sorry backside. I woke up in the hospital to see, you hear the beeping noise, the heart monitor going off, and what happened? And they told me, hey, Dan, you had a second emergency brain surgery. Your shunt blocked, which is very rare. Very rare, they told me. Less than 10% of cases happen. Like, cool. Sweet. I'm so glad I'm on this upswing of this. And I was devastated. I've been working for a year to get back to the office. I had just gotten back to the office, just trying to make a progression out of this deep, dark hole I was in. And they dragged me back in. And I was just devastated for about a good week. Just, this isn't fair. This sucks. This is so unfortunate. Like the first setback was the first dip in. I could describe my recovery like a W, right? The first setback was the first drop of the W. I kind of climbed back up about halfway back where I was. The second setback's not where the first one was, much lower. Like I call this the depths of the human experience. Where like everything in your life and your vibe is just challenged and questioned as to why you're doing this. Are you good enough to be here? Like, are you strong enough to survive this? And you thought you were out, didn't you, bud? We're dragging you back in, I'm sorry to say. it was abrupt, disrespectful, voracious. Like it was horrible feeling and just like so helpless. And I had to really get into my head and be like, you know what, Dan, this didn't kill you. The setback didn't kill you, but you have to react to this in a positive way. Because the mindset you hold right now is the most important thing ever. Because it's what you think about it that matters above what it is. And now you know how to rehab better. All the gains are gone. They're gone, right? But I know how to rehab better this time because I've done it once before. So I could rehab faster. I can move the needle more. I could push it harder because I knew the limits I could handle and push. But this took a while to get my head around the space. It took me probably about a good week to come to terms with this loss and this setback and get into my head and being like, you know what? Draw the line, accept it, and move forwards. Draw that line and accept it. That's the most important thing I did. Was accepting this devastating blow and just saying, yeah, it's not fair it happened, but guess what? No one's coming to save you. And you got to kind of pick yourself up by the bootstraps and move forward with this. So that's, some unnecessary excitement we had there after this whole rehab experience, but it, made me stronger and made me appreciate what I have more. And ultimately helped me forge me into the person I am today. So it's really grateful for that experience now. At the time, not so grateful, I'll be honest with
you. Yeah, it would be hard to feel grateful in the moment. Was it, in terms of the second rehab experience, was it similar to the first time dealing with mobility again?
No, so I was able to walk this time, luckily, which is great. That was a huge bonus a huge to not have to learn that again because that took a long time to get back to walking. I wasn't in a coma for like a certain amount of weeks this time. I was just in surgery for 1 day, so it was fine. But I'd already done rehab in person, so I couldn't do rehab in person again. I already tapped that vein. So my mom had to fight tooth and nail to get back to some vocation or like some remote rehab. And we were able to do that because on their files, it looked like I already had done rehab before. It's like, well, we had a second brain surgery, so like all that's wiped away. The second rehab was much more difficult because I was on my own and like doing this at home, and I'm not in the rehab facility, not seeing the doctors every day, not like motivated by that. And it was a dark time for sure. And it really took a lot of my mental fortitude to get through this point and to navigate this and to take steps needed to progress myself in a way that was positive and positive every day. It was so difficult to keep the mindset pure for this, Jeremy.
Yeah, I can't imagine how hard that would have been. So after that, have things been better since then?
Yeah, I'm happy to say like I've got no more I haven't had a third brain injury. I've had eye surgery a couple times, so I've had 3 eye surgeries, try and correct double vision, which is still a thing. So, it's lucky for me right now, Jeremy, I had 2 E, thank goodness. But like besides that, it's not the best thing ever. It's quite adjusting to like, that's why my eyes are bouncing around a lot. I'm sorry that it's a bit distracting. I just can't focus because I see 2 of you.
Yeah.
It's frustrating, but it's I've accepted it, if that makes sense. Like it's not easy, but it's my reality right now, and that's kind of what I'm learning to adapt to. So it's a bit frustrating, but I'm glad I took the steps to have the surgery because it really kind of shows that I'm taking the steps forward always. Like I recently just had eye surgery on the left eye. My dad asked me like, Dan, do you regret having surgery on the eyes? And I said, well, the last surgery really changed a lot of my perspective because the whole time my eyes were like this, and I used that for 9 years. Right now it's like this a bit shifted. I said, yeah, of course, it's changed everything. And I really just rattled this off quickly without thinking about it. But thinking back at it now, I don't regret the decision at all because taking the step with the eyes was a step forwards. And I always say, take the next step, one step at a time. And I took that step. And it's not worked out perfectly just yet, but I think it will unfold in the weeks, months, and years ahead that it will be the right decision to make. And I want to instill that mindset that every time I can take a step, I take that step because the world unfolds every time I take that step. The perspective is different from that step point. And I don't ever want to challenge the thought of not taking the step. So I'm happy I took the surgery, happy to take the step, but it's a lot to adjust to right now. And I'm still figuring it out, to be honest, Jeremy.
Yeah, I love that mindset of taking the next step forward. And I imagine you were in your bio, you were saying that you've been able to regain the work that you loved before the injury. Can you tell us about that? Is it back at Hootsuite again?
Yeah, so I was back at Hootsuite for a number of years. Worked in the implementation team. So post-sale, honeymoon period with the clients, setting them up in the account, training them, onboarding them. It was a great job. I loved it. Worked with clients from Europe, Middle East, and Africa. So wide spread of workflows and work weeks. You can imagine clients from the south of Italy to like North Africa to like Saudi Arabia. Like there's a wide variety of working cultures and working dynamics that you have to adjust to. And I'm the guy running the project for some of these billion-dollar companies. It's like, oh, I learned a lot. I learned a lot by doing this, and it was a great experience. I really enjoyed it. I wasn't at the job until last autumn. I got let go from that job, part of a corporate restructuring. 400 people lost their job one day, and I was a part of the wrong side of the spreadsheet. From that day until this day, I've been a speaker, motivational speaker. I made the choice that afternoon, after a few drinks, that I'm going to become a motivational speaker tomorrow, which means I need a computer today. Made my way down to the store, picked up a new computer, which I'm calling you on today, and I've been doing that ever since. So it's like, I'm so grateful for Hootsuite, what they did for me and my family. My mom often says the doctor saved my life, but Hootsuite allowed me to get my life back. Hootsuite was phenomenal to me. They treated me so well. My family's so right. I had nothing but love for the company. Even if I got let go from the job last year, that's fine. I'm chasing down what I want to do now. My dream, my goal, my purpose in life is speaking. And Hootsuite allowed me to get back to this. So I'm very grateful for them.
That's awesome that you're able to share the message of what you went through and help other people. Because I imagine there's a lot of people who have either gone through rehab and have struggled with it, or just in general dealing with life's adversities. Really makes me treasure the things that I have right now, being grateful that right now I'm not having to go through that, and trusting that I'll be able to tackle some of the adversities that come up.
Yeah, Jeremy, it's interesting you say that, because like, you may not have a brain hemorrhage, right? The odds are you probably won't, but you will have a job loss, a breakup, a brain injury, like a job loss of it, like loss of a loved one. Like you will have this adversity in your life. How will you respond back to this? Like what I'm offering is a compass, not a map, but a compass. Like it always points towards true north, mindset, perspective, and hacks. Hacks to help you and your team be better than yesterday and tomorrow. Like this stuff is in your soul. Like if you get the mindset right, you're golden. Now it's like, what are you gonna come at me with that I'm afraid of or like can't handle? Like honestly, and that's not like a call out to be like, here, come at me with some stuff, but like, what can you say that I can't overcome that I haven't? Like, look at my history. What have I done? Like I talk about my injury now as like a joke, a bit of like, this ain't nothing, this ain't shit, but like, that's because I've earned the right to speak to it that way. This thing tried to kill me twice, and like I've overcome it twice, and now I laugh in its face. You got nothing. But like, life comes a knocking for everyone, and like you got to be able to handle this knock. Mindset, perspective, and hacks are the way to go, man.
Yeah, I like that. Being able to not be afraid of adversity, but respect it and move through it. When you're not working, what do you enjoy doing in your off time?
Yeah, so I do. First of all, I work 4 days a week, which is a great vibe, and I recommend everyone do it. I did Hootsuite when I came back to work from brain injury. Kept that vibe going when I work for myself. So Wednesdays are my day off normally, right? And I go for a swim, and I go for a brunch. Because that's my vibe, man. I love swimming and I love brunching. Swim because there's no outside influence, no traffic, no music, no podcast, no screens. It's just your breath. I've got a lap counter which tracks your laps, your breath, your lane. You just count you swim and you just tackle some laps. It's phenomenal. I untangle so much stuff in my mind, my vibe through the pool. It's phenomenal. And brunch afterwards always a great vibe because, damn it, I love brunch, man. It's my favorite meal. My favorite meal to go for that, relax, unwind, chill, and I'm recharged for the rest of the week. But I'll do a lot of concerts, I'll do a lot of shows, I'll work out as much as I can. Mood follows action. I'm a big believer in this Rich Rolls vibe. There's another podcaster who's quite big. And a lot of self-improvement because I've been rebuilding my life since the brain injury. And like, I'm really trying to be better than yesterday in everything I do. And that's kind of what drives me now, is to be better than yesterday and to earn the praise that I've been receiving by people, like to earn what they've been saying about me, and like how gracious they've been with helping me recover and rehab. And I want to show them that it's worthwhile, that their trust, their belief, their love they pour to me is worthwhile. And I want to earn that back if I can. So I'm trying to earn that back every day, which is it's there. It's obviously there, but it's just like I'm always trying to earn it, if that makes sense.
Sounds like a powerful motivation. What does your morning routine look like?
Yeah, so I got a good one for this, Jeremy. I'm a big believer in morning routines. So most days I'll get up early, go to the gym or go for a walk or go for a swim. I'll go for an exercise. Mood follows action, right? I'll get a sweat on. I'll come back, have a shower, and the shower cold. 1 to 2 minutes, something heroic here. In Vancouver, it's a pretty mild cold, I'll be honest with you. In the summertime, especially. In the winter, it gets a bit more frosty, but it's still basic ass, man. But after that, I'll meditate for 20 minutes in the morning. I'll start my day off the same way, routine-based. Once I'm done meditating, I'll have a full breakfast and then on my work day. Every day's the same. I warm up with this routine. I armor up for the day, if that makes sense. People who've got like neurodiverse backgrounds, I think by having a routine base, you can kind of start your engine up the same way and you build yourself for success. I also make my bed, which is probably the first thing I do. I forgot to mention that too, Jeremy, but that's the first thing I do in the morning is pick my bed. But that's my morning routine. And I really stand by that. It's a big part of my success.
Yeah, that sounds like a really powerful routine. I especially respect the cold shower in Vancouver. It's a lot colder than it is in Australia.
Well, it's so I end the shower cold. It's not a full cold shower. It's end the shower cold 1 to 2 minutes. So it's not as heroic as it sounds. And Vancouver is very, very mild for Canadian standards. So it's people across the east coast of Canada are like, oh, this guy's got nothing. It's not that cold in Vancouver. It's not that cold in Vancouver. I'm not saying it's cold. But it's a bit abrasive when you're not used to it. I'll be honest with you, man. It takes us getting used to it. Now I crave it. I crave the vibe.
Well, compared to Australia, it's definitely cold. Do you ever do cold water swimming if you go to the beach and go for a swim there?
Yeah, occasionally. I've also started doing cold plunges with a few of my friends who do a sauna and a cold plunge once a month, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
That's some real stuff, man. Like going to the ice bath, and like I went in one time last month or 2 months ago, and I was starting to get hypothermia, so I was like shivering. I had to go back in the sun to like defrost for a little bit because I was so cold. I don't have a lot of body fat on me, so I guess like, the cold just went into my body hard. But it's phenomenal because it's just like the swings of hot and cold. They're so good for your body. I swear by it, it's very good, man. It's very good for your vibe.
Yeah, I need to get back into it. I tried it a few times in winter and I haven't got back into it. Now it's coming into spring, so it's going to be a lot easier. But my idea is that if I do it consistently throughout spring and summer, then as it gets cold, it will feel less bracing. My body will already be used to it. We'll see how I go.
Sure, man. Good luck. Godspeed.
Okay. Now, in terms of optimizing productivity, you spoke about mindset as being really key and probably also doing the morning routine first. What else do you do to optimize your productivity during your workday?
I think momentum is a big part of my vibe. Momentum's huge. And I've got 2 types of momentum. So the first is swallow the hairy frog momentum, which means doing the most difficult task in the day first off in the morning. So I'll do like the most difficult task, that email you don't want to send, that profile you got to set up, that photos you got to send to your brother on the Google Drive that doesn't link correctly, and you got to try and figure out a way to back organize that. And I'll do the most difficult task first. And that way, it's a good indicator of how your day's going to go is by that first task, Jeremy. So like either can go really well or really poorly. But usually I'll give it like a time frame to do it. So I'll do like 15 minutes on this, then move on to something else. But momentum is big for that. And the second momentum is building blocks. That's like stacking stuff on top of each other. Continuing motion so much easier than starting from a dead stop. So in the morning, I'll get up, I'll throw a load of laundry in, which reminds me I got to turn my load of laundry in over right now after this call today. But I'll keep it moving when I'm doing stuff. So I'll come in the door, get dinner on, get the laundry on, like keep the wheel still spinning so you're not starting from a dead stop. If you start from a dead stop, it's so much more difficult to get things going. You keep things rolling, it's a lot easier to keep them perpetually in motion. than it is from a dead stop. So momentum's huge for that. And that's how I keep things rolling with my productivity, if that makes sense.
I love that. I do something like that with writing blogs. I'll spend 10 minutes and I'll get halfway through a sentence and then I'll stop. And then the next day it's easier to pick it up again. Should try it with my laundry as well. I like that idea.
Fair enough, man. I like that a lot.
Any other tactics that you have? Is there anything that you do in terms of making sure that you're taking care of yourself? Because I imagine it's important to not overdo it as well. You do the 4 days per week. That's probably a key thing.
So I'll do like really mindful, like my bandwidth, my battery. So like I've got a Whoop strap, which counts my sleep and stuff like this. I'll track all movement, recovery, and rest, and gauge my day accordingly. So I slept really well last night, so I know I can push myself hard today. Well, harder than I would normally. If I'm a bit tired, then I'll look to take breaks and go for a fika. A fika is a coffee break in Sweden. I studied in Sweden for a year, doing a master's in 2011. And something I picked up over there, so I'll go for a break, I'll go for a treat, go for a coffee, a little macchiato. Refresh my vibe and take my eyes off the screen, which is important. Because if you push through this stuff, sometimes you'll fatigue at the desk. Fatigue's a big issue with people that have had brain injuries. And it's something you can't fight through. I've tried to fight through it and you just fail miserably. So meditation, going for a walk, going for a fika, help me stretch my battery up for the day so I can make it through the day without issue. But that's another way that I kind of refresh my vibe and kind of continue on with this stuff. I'll also do timers and alarms on my phone. So timers allow me to, work on this for 15 minutes and switch tasks. Or at 3:30 I got to call Jeremy, so I'll set my alarm for 2:55 and make sure I'm ready for the call at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock. You kind of build this into your routine. You kind of consistently look to improve this because everyone's got one of these with them all the time now, right? The phone. So make it work for you if you can. Alarms, timers, and write down what the alarm's for because you're going to forget what the alarm's for, right? Make the phone work for you. That makes a lot more. That helps me a lot, Jeremy.
Absolutely. I love that. And I love the idea of the fika, which it aligns very well with what we're going to do now. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back in a bit.
Hello there, this is Joey. I'm excited to tell you about a project I run where I help imaginative people just like you breathe life into their creative dreams, like writing that book or performing that stand-up comedy set. I know the first step can be daunting. I've been there many times and have helped many people on a similar journey. If you've wondered how to bring those ideas swimming around in your head to life, get in touch. We'll shrink the intimidating dragon of a goal into a cute little lizard of an achievable daily habit that you can do every day to get started and stay moving. Click on the link in the show description to get in touch.
All right, we're back from our break. Next up, let's talk about how you switch off at night.
Yeah, so this is one that I'm still working on, to be honest, and I'm not the best at this, but I'll wind down my vibe around 10 o'clock. It's not precise. I'm not perfect at this. And I'll do I've started to do like a tea and a magnesium before that. So like 9:30, 9 o'clock, I'll do a tea magnesium to wind down my vibe and then rest up for the evening. Try to be lights off by around 10:30, 11 at the latest, but I'm in bed by around 10, 10:30 and try to fade off. The earlier I go to bed, the better I am. Sleep's the most important thing for me, 1, 2, and 3. I really believe sleep is the most important part of my vibe. And I really will prioritize that above anything else, above working out, above being productive. Like sleep is the most important thing for me. So it works most of the time. And in fact, I'm in this Whoop group and I got categorized as a sleep champion last month by the group members. So I'm pretty happy with that because it just shows I'm at least putting my money where my mouth is. My money where my mouth is because I believe in that so much that I really prioritize sleep above anything else.
That's awesome. I wanted to ask you about the Whoop band as well. How many hours of sleep do you get in order to become the sleep champion in your group?
Well, it's ironic because like last night I had like 6 hours and 58 minutes, which is not a very good sleep, but I had a great recovery. Generally, I aim for about 7 to 8 hours, but so 6:50, it's pretty much 7 hours to be honest, and that's pretty good. And that gave me an 88% recovery. Not a big deal, but I think 7 hours is pretty good, but if I'll push for more if I can. Below anywhere in the 6 range, I don't worry about that. Like I'll try to get to 7 minimum, but like it depends on how you recover as well, which is quite a big swing in things. But I don't know. I believe in this tech a lot. And I really base my battery on this a lot because it's with the brain injury, you got to really respect the battery. And if you don't respect the battery, it blows up in your face. And I've had that happen to me on a number of occasions, and I want to try to avoid that if I can going forwards.
Absolutely. Is there anything that you find makes a difference to the sleep quality?
Dark room, quiet, in bed early. I can be in bed early as long as I'm like I can listen to an audiobook. Generally, I try to listen to an audiobook. So fiction, I'll try to do that before or nonfiction before the night ends. I've been getting away from that a little bit, which is unfortunate, but I like doing at least 15 minutes of nonfiction a night. Found that was a great way to unwind and kind of untangle my mind from like what I'm trying to do and accomplish. Also, there's an author, Neil, I'm gonna butcher his name, Neil Petris or something like this. So the book, he's the author of You Are Awesome. And he also says he swears by the habit of like listening to nonfiction or reading nonfiction before you go to bed. So it untangles your mind from like all the problems in your life and what you need to accomplish. You can kind of go to this never, never land and just kind of fade off into existence, which is nice.
Do you find you have to choose certain nonfiction? Because I can find some nonfiction will actually stimulate me and get me excited about things that I can start implementing. Is it really dry nonfiction, like the history of trains in Britain, something like that?
Sorry, I meant fiction. I meant like made up stories. What I meant is that fiction or nonfiction?
Yeah, sorry. Okay, that makes sense. But we even with that, I imagine you have to choose it wisely. You wouldn't want to read a thriller or something that is really going to stimulate you.
Yeah, I do read thrillers a lot, and I think it's pretty good. But like, sometimes you get excited, but I'll pace myself. So I won't go to like if I'm in a very like tumultuous part, I won't listen to the book before I go to bed because that's obviously going to get me fired up and excited. But I'll try to space the book out in a way that I can consume it in a way that's best. And I've got the audiobook app or Audible app, which is pretty cool. So I can set my timer for 30 minutes. And if you do 30 minutes a day on a book, you can chip away at a book in a couple of weeks, which is pretty phenomenal. That's another hack you can take to your bank as well. But I've gotten away from that in the past couple of weeks, and I need to get back to the audiobook app. 30 minutes a day is a great way to chip out a book. So that's a great hack to have.
Absolutely. I've got in my Audible, I've got a 80-hour long fiction book, and I haven't been chipping away at it. Maybe I should adopt that strategy. Get through
30 minutes a day, just kind of chip away at it slowly but surely, right? Like, it's not a huge amount of ask. You can walk around and listen to a book for 30 minutes quite easily. Sometimes you fall asleep and you like, there's been a few times where I've like totally lost the plot of a book and fallen asleep like 10 minutes into the book. And it's played for another 20. And I'm like, well, I don't know where the hell we are. Who's Susan? Like, where did Susan come from? Like, you can lose the plot entirely and like not back up in places. And then the book's a little too far gone. You're like, well, I guess this book's gone. I'm not going to figure out what happened here. But most times it works out pretty good. And that's a good vibe to have.
Definitely. What are you reading at the moment?
I just finished Jack Carr's book, In the Blood, I believe, which is like a thriller. I'm listening, not reading, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy right now, but I've kind of lost the plot a little bit with that book now. It's like, I don't know who these characters are, and we're on these weird planets, and they're talking this weird language. And I'm like, I don't think I followed this plot very well. So that one I think was a bit of a miss, to be honest. That's a bit of a miss for me, but that's okay. Jack Carr was a good book.
That was my experience of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy as well. I think it's a bit tangential at times.
Yeah, it's all over the map. I'm like, who the hell is this Ezekiel? Like, what? I mean, this took one night where I fell asleep and like the book kept playing, and now it's like I'm in like this weird spaceship and this hitchhiker. Well, I guess the hitchhikers are part of the storyline, but like I'm off the plot entirely, Jeremy. I don't know what to say. I'm off the plot entirely.
Well, it served the desired effect of putting you to sleep.
There we go, man. That's key.
Other than fiction, what else would you recommend? I heard you mention the Rich Rolls podcast, the Whip Band, and You Are Awesome by Neil Petris. Anything else that you'd recommend?
Yeah, so when I clean up the kitchen at night, I listen to this video on YouTube by Joe Rogan called Get It Done. And I just clean up my kitchen, and I just follow this routine every night. and it gets set me up for success. And I always say finish as you like to begin. So the kitchen's got to be clean and spotless every night. I love the kitchen clean and spotless. And I do this every night as a routine. It's a kind of a cathartic way for me to unwind and relax for my evening. And I was listening to that video, Get It Done by Joe Rogan. But I'll do like the book, The Artist's Way, which is pretty cool. Or yeah, The Artist's Way, I believe it's called. By
Julia Cameron.
No, sorry, that's different. That is her, but it's a different book I'm thinking of. The War of Art. The War of Art is what I'm thinking of.
Oh, yeah.
You read that one?
I haven't read it, but a lot of people have recommended it.
That's a great book, and that got me going with like being creative and like I'm an artist and all this stuff, and like I'm a speaker now and a podcast. Well, I was a podcast host. I'm taking a pause of the podcast, but like the creative side of my mind is working a lot more than I was in the past. And I think the War of Art's a good way to do this because it kind of forces you to do the work, and it uncovers a lot of characters that you encounter along the way, like the muse and the resistance and the little voice being like, "Oh, you don't have to do the work now. It's fine." It's like, no. I would say like that's what I call the work: chop wood, carry water. Every time I'm like, what do I need to do? It's like, well, for speaking stuff, it's like, well, chase up the podcast referrals, chase up the speaking engagement, like work the pipeline, continue to work and keep working on like your bio description for the new bureau that you're a part of. Like, it's just get to work, do the stuff you know that works. And I call it chop wood, carry water, which is really important to remember.
Yeah, that's a really good productivity tactic as well. Just doing those procedural tasks that'll get you to the end result. To finish off with, where can people connect with you?
Yeah, for sure. So the best place is macqueendan.com, MACQUEEN Dan.com. Also Macqueen Dan across the socials, Instagram and YouTube and Twitter. Instagram's probably most active for me, to be honest, but if you want to connect in the other two, you're more than welcome to. But MacQueenDan.com is the best place to send them. They can also see my demo reel there as well, which is pretty cool.
Fantastic. Do you have any final words or asks for the audience?
The through line that I want to get across here is this is Stoic through line that I use for my talk a lot, and it's not what happens to you, but how you respond to it that matters. Okay, it's not what happens to you, but how you respond to it that matters. Right? That second setback, it didn't kill you. You can navigate through this, but you have to think about it in the right way. Oftentimes we tell ourselves we're done, we're finished, but like you're not done, you're finished. You're just telling yourself you're done and finished. You're giving yourself an excuse to be done and finished. Like, just keep going, man. Keep going. One step in front of the other. It's about 3 life lessons right there, but there you go. One step in front of the other. So what happens to you, but how you respond to it, keep going. Are the 3 I'll end with there for you, Jeremy.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. We'll wrap the show with that. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Focus and Chill podcast. To listen to other episodes, jump onto podcast.focusbear.io. If you'd like to be a guest on the show or you know someone who'd be a good fit, email us at team@focusbear.io. Otherwise, stay focused, stay chilled, and peace out.